And welcome to another episode of the Kids Ministry Collective podcast. My name is Tom Bump, and I'm your host. Thanks for joining me, my friends. And I have to say a huge thank you. This is the first episode of 2025, and we have hit over 150,000 downloads. Thanks to you, my friends. I am so thankful for you. I could not believe my eyes when I saw the analytics pop up that we had crossed the 150,000 mark. So thank you so much for subscribing, for sharing, for liking, for commenting, for emailing me and letting me know. I am so grateful to you. I heard from a listener just recently that said that the episode that they were listening to on leadership growth really helped them with their mindset. And I am so excited that we have the opportunity to serve you in this way. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that I do think is essential for every leader, and that's how to maximize our learning experiences. If we want to grow in 2025, if we want to grow our influence with our senior leaders and with our teams, and we want to grow our ministries, it starts with us being committed learners, but not just learners. So stay tuned to this episode because we're going to talk about why learning is important. But if you miss this one thing, your learning is just a waste of time. Before we do that, though, let me tell you about KidMenPlus.net, a great community for learners that are leaders. It's a community where we get to learn from each other. It's being built by the community. Everything in there is new and fresh, and I'm super excited to have the opportunity to invite you to come check it out. If you'll email me at tom@tombump.com, I'm going to give you a special free trial offer to come check out KidMenPlus.net. We have two different tiers that you can join in depending on what you are looking for, and I would love to share more with you about that. So email me at tom@tombump.com and just say, hey, I'd like to know more about the Plus, and I'll send you the information right away. But let me just tell you, I just came back from the Children's Pastors Conference. It is one of my top two favorite conferences. I do believe this is a conference that leaders ought to come check out. If you want to grow yourself, your teams, this is a conference that you want to aim for. So it's done for 2025, but you can start signing up for 2026, and we would love to see you there. It's a powerful, powerful conference that can be transforming to you and help you learn more. But like I said at the top of the episode, this isn't just about learning. It's about maximizing your learning experiences, whether it's through books, conferences, webinars, coaching, mentoring. Leaders need to not just be lifelong learners, but they need to do something more than just that. It's not just about gaining new knowledge. It's about effectively implementing what you learn. And that's what I want to share with you today. I'm going to share three of my favorite tips that I think will help you get the most out of learning every ounce of knowledge and wisdom that you can get from learning. So let's get started. So when it comes to learning, it does start with your mindset. It starts with you. If you're going to truly maximize your learning, you need to foster a mindset that's open to growth. You need to be willing to be challenged. You need to have your thoughts and your ideas and your habits challenged. And a growth mindset means believing that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication, consistency, and hard work. This perspective really does encourage you to embrace the challenges that are going to be facing in ministry. We all face challenges. We all face obstacles. We all face hard seasons. But a growth mindset, when it comes to learning, takes those challenges and says, okay, so what if we did this? Or what can we do now? How do we learn from our mistakes and grow from them? You see, a growth mindset when it comes to learning looks at setbacks and sees them as step ups. So learn from the feedback, learn from the pushback, learn from the challenges. One way you can cultivate this mindset is by setting specific learning goals. Ask yourself, what is it that I really want to learn or need to learn this year? And why is it important for my leadership? You see, sometimes we just take things all over the place and we don't really know how to implement it. Why? Because we didn't have a plan going in. Every leader should be learning something new every day and then saying, okay, now how can I use this? How can I use this to bless someone else, to grow my ministry, to help a leader? I want to learn, but what do I want to learn? And why is it so important that I learn this? Sometimes we just want to learn things, and that's because we like to spin our wheels. It keeps us from implementing the right things. So I want to challenge you to be thinking about what you're learning and why you need to learn it. You don't have to learn every single thing. I don't need to know every single thing. But what I want to know is the most important things. I want to be clear on what I need to learn and about the objectives for it. I want to think about how I will implement this on the other side. I don't want to just absorb knowledge. I want to apply it with purpose. All right, here's another tip. You've got to diversify your learning sources. You see, it's easy to get comfortable with one style of learning or one type of learning, like reading books or attending a conference. But to get a well-rounded perspective, you need to explore different ways of learning. So if you're constantly watching webinars and listening to podcasts like this and online courses, consider joining a mentoring group. The Kid Ministry Collective offers them from time to time, or come check out KidMenPlus because that essentially is a regular meeting, live mastermind, cohort, coaching group, whatever you want to call it. But it's another way to take what you're learning, share it with others, and then get feedback on it. It's a way for you to grow yourself. I believe it was John Maxwell that said, you're the sum of the 5 people around you. Do you have the right people around you feeding your knowledge? Be careful who you listen to, my friends. Not everybody out there, just because they have a fancy social media presence, is the one you should be listening to. Not everyone that has a big brand or is appearing everywhere or has, a huge following is somebody worth following and learning from. Be careful who you get wisdom from. Are they a practitioner of what they speak about? I'll never forget going to a leadership conference once, sitting in this room and hearing a whole panel of leaders that were from big churches talk about their leadership systems and how polished and pristine they were and how organized they were. And then someone stood up and asked the question, how many of you, out of the 5 that were standing there on the stage, how many of you actually teach children on a regular basis or even semi-regular basis? This person wanted to know, do these so-called high caliber leaders actually work with kids, or do they administrate for kids? Because there's a difference. There's some people who talk about it and there's people who are being about it. And I'm always cautioning new young leaders, be careful who you follow, because not everybody out there, just because they have a big brand or big influence or social media presence, are truly worthy of your time. I'm always trying to make sure that this Kid Ministry Collective and the podcast is worth your time. I want to stay active and am active in children's ministry because I want to be authentic and I want people to understand. I understand where you are. And I'm a lover of learning. But I find that sometimes I get stuck because I listen to the same voices over and over and over again. So this is one of the things I'm practicing in 2025 is mixing up how I'm learning. And I'm being careful about who I'm listening to, but I'm also making sure that even those that are different from me can challenge me and grow me. So take time to research and choose quality content that resonates with you, but also challenges you and ultimately helps you take steps to moving your leadership level forward. All right, another tip. Make sure that you're actively engaging and reflecting with what you're learning. Whether you're reading or attending a seminar, make sure you're an engaged learner. This means taking notes, writing down key points, questions that you have, disagreements with the idea. If you're listening to something and you don't ever disagree with it, maybe you need to find something different because maybe it's too similar to what you already are. And it's not going to challenge your thinking. I love it when the people that I work with and hang out with push back respectively. And it's awesome because we all grow because of that pushback. And it opens up our minds again to what if. We like that kind of thinking. So when you're reading or when you're listening, write down those key points, write down those questions, and think of the pushback. And after you've engaged with that content, take some time to reflect and ask yourself, what are the key takeaways and how do they apply to my current situation? It can be huge for you to maybe even keep a journal of these ideas. Document your ideas and revisit them. You might find that some of the things you can't do right now, but you could do later. You see, when I attend a conference, one of the things that I do is I have the same note-taking setup. I use Evernote and I have a note-taking template and I use that template, and on the bottom of it, it always asks, so what are you going to do with this? Because I want to know, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to use it right now? Is it something I can share with my team? Is it something that I need to put on my calendar to remember in 6 months? I want to know that I am taking some definite next steps with the content that I learn. You should be doing that with this podcast. So what will you do with this knowledge? What will you do with these tips? How will you implement them? Can you create a little note so that from now on, as you're learning, you're going to be thinking through these kind of things, asking yourself some critical questions so that you can apply what you're learning? I hope so. Got one more tip for you, and that's what I just was talking about, implementation and getting your team involved. If you're going to be a growing leader, you want to help others grow with you. And learning is only valuable when you can put it into practice. So create an action plan with clear, measurable next steps. Even better, take these next steps and put them on your calendar immediately. Because if you don't take time to calendar them, are you really going to implement them? You see, your calendar is always going to rat you out on whether you're truly implementing or you're just sponging and learning. Some of us, including yours truly, tend to learn too much and then we don't implement. My wife had a great question for me a number of months ago. How much more do you need to learn before you're going to do X? She was right. I had all the knowledge I needed. I had asked all the questions. I'd looked at all the pros and cons. I had asked what if and how can I. I had gone through that exercise 3 or 4 times and had nailed down truly some clear next steps. I just had an obstacle in my mindset that I had to change and fix. You see, that's where if you can create next steps and then share it, it will amplify your impact. Organizing a knowledge sharing session with people around you. That's why I love going to conferences with groups, because we can sit down together and organize our thoughts and decide what are the truly next best steps that we can take. It also reinforces what we've learned together because we can work together. It inspires and motivates the team to jump in. Even if they didn't go to a conference with you, if you share this knowledge and allow them to ask questions and push back and give feedback, and then to create those next steps together, it's going to motivate them. So let me challenge you to consider these kind of things. As we wrap up this episode, I want to challenge you to remember how important growth mindsets are and that we need to diversify the learning sources, whether that's conferences, webinars, coaching, KidMenPlus.net. That you need to make sure that you have critical steps of active engagement and implementation. You need to have leadership and learning because they all go hand in hand. And I really hope that these tips have inspired you to make the most out of every learning experience. I hope this podcast helps you learn, challenges your thinking, and causes you to grow. If you found this episode useful, hey, I would love for you to subscribe if you haven't, leave a note, or email me at tom@tombump.com. I would love to hear from you. Maybe you've got an idea for another podcast. Share it with me. I would love to get your input. It's always fantastic to hear from you. Without you, there is no Kids Ministry Collective. Without you, there is no amazing growth opportunities in front of us. So if I can ever do anything for you, if you're interested in coaching, you need a mentor, you need a guide, you need someone to talk to about ministry, hey, feel free to reach out. You can go to the kidsministrycollective.com and see where coaching, where the podcasts, where the blog, the Facebook group, KidMenPlus, all the things that we offer you as ministry leaders is there. We would love to serve you and help you. All right, my friends, that's going to wrap up this episode. And I hope that you'll stay tuned for another episode real soon.